So what do you do when you don't like your opponent? You banish them. Hi, it's Local Dragon Lady here, and it's time to do a deck profile in Master Duel. I've been getting requests for this for a really long time. It is the Banish deck. Now, I have multiple profiles of this deck on this channel, but the reason why Master Duel is different is it's not a best 2 out of 3, so we can't use our side deck. This is just a one-shot game that we play. Now, the reason why it's taken me so long to do this profile is because, well, I wanted to complete the deck in Master Duel first, but getting gems is kind of it's tedious, takes a long time, and I'm not paying real money in this game. The only decks I have completed are the main ones I play with. So, and I don't play Banish. I leave it to my husband, but I don't play this anymore. However, I've been trying to see if I can make a more budget-friendly version. So there are options you can swap in and out depending if you already have some cards. But let's go through with what I have. It's a main deck of 47 cards, which is fine because we have cards in this deck that, you know, if you're not careful, you might be able to deck yourself out. So it's a good idea to have more cards than your opponent, which is typically 40. Okay, Cyber Valley. All right. Now, Cyber Valley is level 1, which is good, and also 0 attack, which is great for the Inferno Tempest play and to link off into any level 1 link monsters you have. Now, the reason why I'm using Cyber Valley in this build is because it's only a rare, it's cheaper. If you're able to get the Blackjack, definitely go ahead. It can help you with getting some certain traps faster, but this is just cheaper to do. So, when you summon this card, you can use one of these effects. When this card is targeted for an attack, you can banish this card, draw one card, and then end your battle phase. So you can do that if you have a bad hand, or you can target one face-up monster you control and this card, banish both targets, and draw 2 cards. Okay, so good. And target one card in your graveyard, banish both this card and one card from your hand, and place that target on top of the deck. So if you need a card that's on your graveyard and you need to recycle, you can get it back. So yes, I've known this card for a while, but I completely forgot that it was a level 1, so that is very useful. We have 3 Battle Fader, so level 1, 0 attack for Inferno and Link plays, and it's good for defense, so if your opponent were to declare a direct attack, just want to summon this onto your field and you end the battle phase. And we have 2 Eater of Millions. It's a super rare. You can put in 3 if you like, but 2 seems to be good anyway. So you can special summon this card, well, it has to be special summoned from your hand by banishing 5 or more cards from your hand, field, and your extra deck face down. This gains 100 attack and defense for each face down card that's banished. You can't tribute it, but the best thing is it's great monster removal because once it enters the damage step in battle, it can banish your opponent's monster as non-targeting. So it doesn't matter if your opponent has that kind of protections and a big beat stick, it's really, really good. And it's just good for banishing more cards, which is all important. Okay, I managed to get 3 of Grand Manju. This is one of the win conditions. You just one-punch your opponent because this card gains attack and defense equal to the number of your banished cards by 400. That's what you have banished, not your opponent, so don't get them confused. Now, another neat little trick you can do with this, if your opponent has no idea what you're playing and you have a ton of banished cards, just put this guy in face-down defense position. Because there have been times that this card's been pumped up to like 8 or 10,000 or plus at defense points, and your opponent will think, well, I got a good beat stick on the field, I'm gonna slam into this, and they're just gonna lose the game by damage by attacking a defense position monster. So yeah, that can be a sneaky trick. It works well on Master Duel because they don't know what you're playing. There is no game 2 in this. Necrophase. Be careful with this one because you can wind up decking yourself out with this. So if you only have 2, that's fine. You can go with 3. If this card is normal summon, you shuffle all banished cards into the deck. So if you're running low on cards and you feel you need a reset, you can do it with this card. This card gains 100 attack for each card shuffled into the main deck by this effect. This card is banished. Each player banishes 5 cards from the top of their deck. Or if their entire deck, if it's less than 5 cards, I'm sorry. So yes, there are many ways you can banish Necrophase. It can be done off the effect of Inferno Tempest. So this is one of the ways you can deck out your opponent. If you manage to banish 3 of these on your side, bam, both you and your opponent have the middle 15 cards. And this works. Okay, Dimension Shifter, oh boy. Try to get 3 if possible, but again, 2 is okay. If you have no cards in your graveyard, quick effect, send this card from your hand to the graveyard until the end of the next turn. Any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead. This card is devastating. If you go first, and this is in your opening hand, the turn is probably going to be sent back to you because so many decks rely on the graveyard. And if any cards are being banished, they cannot get their effects. So the first deck that comes to my mind in this is Salamangreats. If your opponent's playing Salamangreats and you use Dimension Shifter, that's it. Your opponent isn't going to be able to do anything because they need that graveyard badly. So this can throw a wrench in a lot of people. Now, I have 1 Lava Golem. Just because it's good monster removal, so you can tribute to your opponent's monsters, get this guy out on their standby phase, or they are burned for 100,000 damage. If you put an attack position, it's 3,000, so you can easily slam into it with a 0 attacker for Inferno Tempest play. The only problem is once you special summon this guy to your opponent's side of the field, you cannot normal summon. So that's why I only have 1 of these guys in this deck. It's just good in reserve in case your opponent has a real difficult board to get around, like they have a negate board or something. So Lava Golem can at least get rid of 2 of those. Another good option would be Raw Sphere mode, because it is a normal summon, but then again, you're going to have the same problem, right? But however, though, with Lava Golem, you can still special summon, so you can still go into your Eater of Millions, for example, or you can go into your link plays if you already have a monster on the field. Or you can do this, you can kaiju it. So yeah, Dogoran, the Mad Flame Kaiju. So I have 2 of those, they're ultras, and I have 2 Star Destroying Kaiju, which for some reason is a regular rare. So gets rid of an opponent's monster. It's important because these have 3,000 or more attack. So you are going to need that for the Tempest play. Let's see. We also have the Serpent Gizmic Orochi. This guy is really good. It's a free special summon. If this card is in your graveyard for a quick effect, you can banish the top 8 cards from your deck face down. Special summon this card, so you're banishing more cards because you want to do that. And this guy can also target a face-up monster to feel and destroy. They can only use 1 of these per turn, and only once. It's a hard once per turn, so be careful on how you use this guy. But he's just great in a pinch. Now, on to magic cards. So right now I have 2 Allure Darkness, draw 2 cards, but you gotta banish 1 dark monster. There's a lot of dark monsters in this deck, so this is a safe card to have. Good for draw power. Interrupted Kaiju Slumber. Because we have a few Kaijus, this card is really good. You can just destroy as many monsters on the field as possible, and special summon 2 Kaiju, so 1 attack on each side. So what you want to do is put the less powerful Kaiju on your opponent's side, and give yourself a stronger one, and you can actually slam to get rid of it. So this is a really good monster removal and good to get monsters on your side of the field as well. More draw power. I have 2 Pod Desires because you can have more than 1 in Master Duel. You can only have 1 in the TCG, so banish the top 10 cards of your deck, face down, draw 2 cards. So that's a win-win with this deck. We also have 2 Pot of Prosperity. It's a super rare in this. So yes, banish the top 3 or 6 cards of your choice from the extra deck, which is the best part. You get to choose. It's not like the Pot of Extravagance. You just gotta do it randomly. And for the rest of this turn, this card resolves the damage your opponent takes as half, which is really not a big deal. We're not really focused too much on the damage here. It's about decking them out yes, and you can just excavate the same number of cards, so it allows you to dig deeper to find that card that you want, especially if you banish 6 cards. The Inferno Tempest, it's only a rare in Master Duel. Isn't that convenient? It's just a rare. This is one of the main stars of this deck. This is what makes it so silly and fun, and get a reaction to your opponent when you use this, although it is gaining in popularity, I've noticed. So basically, it's a quick play magic card. If you take 3,000 or more in battle damage in one attack, which is why we have all those kaijus there, and level, well, 0 attackers, you activate this card and remove all monsters from each player's deck and graveyard. You banish everything. So this card alone can help you deck your opponent out. If you have the Grand Manju, you can power it up and swing for a game. It's just amazing. The only unfortunate thing is, unless you use the left arm offering to search this card, like, you have the hard draw into it. Left arm offering, I'm not putting it in this deck because you have to banish your hand. So it's your hand can be pretty important in this. That's it for magic, but for traps, DD Dynamite. This is another win condition. If you banished enough cards on your opponent's side, flip this up and inflict 300 damage to your opponent for each of their removed cards from play, each of their banished cards. I love the old wording here. Removed from play. So if you succeed with Inferno Tempest, I think the magic number is 27. If they have a minimum of 27 cards, banish, flip up DD Dynamite, and bam, you get game unless they can negate it. Evenly matched. Yes, I am main decking evenly matched. This, in Master Duel especially, is important. So if you open up, if you go second and you have this card in your hand, at the end of your battle phase, so you don't have anything on the field, you just go, okay, draw, main phase, battle phase, activate this card, and if your opponent controls more cards than you two, you make your opponent banish cards from their field face down so they control the same number as you do. So when you use evenly match, your opponent has to banish everything except for one card. So this can interrupt their plays massively. Then you go into main phase 2 and just do whatever it is you need to do. 3 would be pretty nice, but again, 2, want to keep this balanced. Trap Trick. Trap Trick basically adds another copy of every trap you have to your deck. Now, it has to be normal trap. So banish one normal trap from your deck except Trap Trick and set one card with the same name directly from your deck. It can also be activated during this turn. So the main target you have for this card is going to be your DD Dynamite. So especially if your opponent has enough cards banished, Trap Trick, DD Dynamite, bam, go for game. Now you can also use this for Banquet of Millions. This is a newer card that normally would be sided in the TCG, but I'm going to add it to the main deck now in Master Duel. And it's really good if for your opponent, against your opponent, if you're going first, you set this card. So banish any number of cards from your extra deck face down and banish the same number of random face down cards from your opponent's extra deck face up until the end phase. So a lot of decks heavily rely on the extra deck, so you can interrupt their game entirely if you were to banish your entire extra deck, for example, and they just can't go into it. But one turn, sometimes that's just enough. So I'm using 3 of these. You can reduce it to 1 if you like, but it's a cheap card to get. It's just a regular end card. And 2, Macrocosmos. So this is basically it's a permanent trap. And when this card resolves, now we're not paying attention to the Helios, the primordial sun in this. Basically what it does, as long as this card is facing the field, any card that's sent to the grave is being banished instead. So again, your opponent most likely heavily relies on the graveyard, so they'll be more reluctant to do certain plays with this. So extra deck, okay. Most of it can be jank, but there are some useful extra deck cards you really, really want. One, the Elder Entity Entis. I just happen to have this card anyway, so I added it to this deck. It's great for anyone who's playing Dogmatica if they're trying to send a card from your extra deck to the grave. So you can use Elder Entity Entis, because when it hits the grave, you can target a card your opponent controls and destroy it. So nothing wrong with that. The main card you do want in this build is you want 3 Link Karibos. All you need is a 1 level 1 monster to use. You can send this, it's good to, when your opponent you can tribute the card, flipping up my own words. You can tribute this card and change your opponent's monster attack to 0 until the end of the turn. So it's good for defense. Clara and Rushka. So, only reason why I have this simply because one normal summoned or set monster, it's a 0 attacker. So, if you were to get a kaiju in your opponent's side of the field and all you have is Eater of Millions, for example, so you can start to summon the Eater of Millions, you can link off into Carla, 0 attacker, and you can slam into the kaiju and get the Inferno Tempest play. This is actually really good if you used your Lava Golem. You cannot normal summon, so you can special summon into a card, link off into Carla, and you can slam into the Lava Golem. So there's ways around that. I have 3 Relinquish Animas. This is a very good card in this deck because, say if you were to put a kaiju in your opponent's side of the field, put the kaiju in the in the zone that aligns with the link monster zone, because what you can do is you can normal summon one of your level 1 monsters, link up the anima, and you can take that kaiju you just gave your opponent, and it's going to gain attack power equal to the monster you're taking. So it's a way to get rid of one of your opponent's monsters. You can take it back and you can do some damage to your opponent. These other 3, I guess they're kind of optional. I do have a Nightmare Cerberus in this game, so I decided to add to it. 2 monsters with different names. This allows you to, target a monster in the main monster zone. You can destroy it. Same thing with Nightmare Phoenix. 2 monsters, different names. You can target a back row that's giving you problems and destroy it. And Nightmare Unicorn, +2 monsters with different names. You can shuffle a card back to the deck. So yes. So anyway, I wish I could have completed this build. Now, other good options, you can get super polymerization. You can put targets in your extra deck for that. If you feel like, okay, well, I don't have any Macrocosmos, but I have Super Poly, I can add that. I will leave a link in the description below of the main build of the TCG Banish deck, and you can go by that to swap out, what you have and don't have, and go through that. But as far as Master Duel is concerned, I think this build is pretty good. Someday, once I get it completed, I'll probably do some replay videos of how it goes online, but there you go. So at least I can say I delivered on my promise. Here's the profile for Master Duel. So have fun, and remember to be a good sport, to play the game, not the fame. See ya!